Hey YouTube! Today I'd like to go over the cooking compartment for my new bug out bag design. The main thing I had to decide on this compartment was what kind of stove I wanted to go with. I narrowed it down to 3 choices. The first choice was the MSR Pocket Rocket, the second choice was the Jetboil Flash personal cooking system, and the third choice was the Caldera Tri-Tri. What I liked about the MSR Pocket Rocket was how small it was, lightweight, and I liked being able to have a titanium pot with that, so if I ever ran out of fuel that I could use that over a campfire and still be able to boil water if I needed to. What I liked about the Jetboil was that it's all around cooking system. Everything's, the pot and the stove is all kind of, basically built into one, and it boiled water extremely fast, so it helped me conserve on fuel as well. What I didn't like about it was that I probably couldn't put this over an open flame once I ran out of fuel, because I think it would melt. The Caldera Tri-Tri, what I liked about it is that as long as I had a fuel source such as wood or paper or alcohol, I'd always have fuel for cooking. But since I'm in an urban environment, that kind of was not as important to me in the long run. So what I ended up going with was along the same route as the MSR Pocket Rocket, but I went with the Snow Peak Gigapower stove, which is very similar to the Pocket Rocket. This one has kind of I've owned the Pocket Rocket before, and this one has a wider flame than that one does. And also, if I can open it up, I really liked how it had the little fire starter for that, so I didn't have to get my fire steel out there or matches or anything like that. So this is the stove that I went with. It's made by Snow Peak. You could get this at REI in a starter pack, which includes the titanium Trek 700 milliliter mug or pot, and also comes with a spork too, although I don't like sporks. So this is the stove I ended up going with. As a lot of you saw in a previous video, I have a pot cozy which goes around the pot that I have. So the pot I have is a titanium Trek. It's also made by Snow Peak. And so I have 2 fuel containers in here. I might end up, having more in my bug out bag. I'm not sure how much I'm going to have, or whether I'll keep that in my wife's bug out bag or not. So this is the titanium pot. It's extremely light, and once I run out of fuel with this, if I run out of fuel, I can still use this to boil water over a flame, which I like. And the pot cozy is to help me save on fuel, so I won't have to have this cooking the whole time. I could, once I boil the water, I could put the the water into the food and then have it simmer in this pot cozy, which helps keep the heat inside of this container and cooks the food a little bit more efficiently. So that's the cooking system that I went with for my cooking compartment. The next important thing for me, this might not be important for you guys, but for me it was really important, is I'm going to need my coffee. This is, I guess it's kind of a morale thing for me, but I drink coffee every day and I don't want to go without it, even in a bug out scenario. So I spent a long time trying to figure out what kind of coffee mug I wanted to go with. On this one I also had a bunch of different choices. I could have went the cheapo route and found whatever the cheapest mug was that had a lid on it. Another route I was looking at was getting something similar to this the titanium Trek, but a single wall titanium mug, or they also have a double wall version. And then also there's some plastic mugs. So as you can see in this video, I ended up going with the Sea to Summit mug. And what I ended up deciding was, at first I was kind of thinking, yeah, I want to have a titanium so I could put it over the stove for a backup, so if I need to boil water, I'll have a backup way of doing that. And when it came down to it, I basically just wanted a mug that worked really well. And I know that this one works extremely well. It keeps the coffee extremely hot in here. It's very well insulated. It has a lid, so I'm not going to have a bunch of debris or anything getting inside of it unless it makes it through that hole, which if it does, I guess it deserves to be inside of it. And so what I have is since I didn't use this bag for the Snow Peak for the container, I'm using it to store many Starbucks Vias, which is going to be my bug out bag coffee of choice, since it's an instant coffee and it tastes pretty good for being an instant coffee. And yes, they are decaf. So I have several in there. I'm going to try to fit more if I can, since they're fairly lightweight, and so it's pretty easy to cook. So that ended up being the coffee mug that I went with, and believe I spent a long time trying to figure out which coffee mug to go with. So it was actually between this one and a single-walled titanium one. I was actually thinking of making a mini pot cozy for that one, but I went with this. It's you know, it's fairly symmetrical, and it's easy to store. Although I can't really have it dangling on the side of my pack, but I don't like having stuff on the outside of my pack anyway. So I'm going to go with this on one of the side pockets on the backpack that I have. So I'm going to dig right into this container. It's another Eagle Crest. I really like these bags. On the outside here I have the same kind of towel that I have on my baby Bob. It's just a little camp towel. It's very compact, very small container. So I'm going to just start digging into here. So let's see. I don't have this filled up right now. This is it's going to be to store some dishwash soap. I'll try to make it biodegradable. I haven't found out which one I want to go with yet. But it's kind of a squishy bottle. I forget what the brand is on this actually. No, I'm totally spacing on it. I'll put it on the annotation. Human Gear is what it says. I'll put a link on the annotation though. So I wanted something that I could still clean if my pot was dirty, that I could still clean it out with, and with my bowl. So the bowl that I went with, it's another Sea to Summit collapsible bowl. I have one of these also in my baby Bob as well, and I just like that how compactable it was. I'm not planning on using the bowl too often, but if I do need to use one, at least I have one, and it could compact extremely thin. So that's my bowl. I didn't go with a plate. I'm not planning on having some kind of 7-course meal or anything like that, where I need a plate and fancy silverware settings and stuff. So let me just keep on digging into this. All right, now this actually took me the most amount of time, even more than the coffee mug and the stove. I'm kind of a, I don't know, food yuppie. I'm not sure how you want to say it, but I really like having spice on my food, even on those little Mountain House containers. So I wanted to have a fancy, or not a fancy, I just wanted to have a good way of having spice with me, and I tried a variety of different methods. I wanted to have a lot of different spices with me. I wanted salt, I wanted some Cajun spices, I wanted some pepper, I wanted some Johnny's, some lemon pepper, some cayenne pepper. I wanted all of those, and I hadn't found a good way of storing all of those. I tried a variety of different things. I tried putting them in my little baggies that I've been using in a lot of my other videos. I even bought a bunch of these. They're using, chemists use these. These are plastic beaker bottles, I guess. I'm not sure if that's the official name for it. I also even went and got these are stack pack jars that you could get at a fishing supply store. I even tried using my weekly pill container to all store spices. And what I settled on, this is a GSI. It's called a Spice Missile. There's not a lot of, I don't think there's a lot of reviews on this on REI's website. I bought it from REI. It's fairly overpriced, but it was so small and it's lightweight. It weighs, filled, it weighs 2.5 ounces. So why I didn't go with this route, because they do open on you, and then if you get any of the seasoning in the Ziploc area, that it's harder to close. With these ones, I had about 6 of these, and I had them in a GPS bag or container, and I had them stored that way. What I really was hoping to do was do something similar to Gwen 1975 had an Altoid tin, and he had some that are even smaller than this that fit in there sideways, but I can't seem to get a hold of him to ask where he got those from. I've been to every single craft store trying to find them. And then this one, I liked them, but they come apart fairly easy, and so I was spilling spice all over the place. So that's why I ended up going with the GSI Spice Missile, and it has a cool name, so I guess you gotta go with it. So that's a lot of time spent on talking about spice, but for me it was important. I like having spice. So get this all out of the way. Alright, keep digging in here. I got one of these. This is from REI. It's one of those nylon spoons. This is a really long one, just in case, some of those, some of those bags that, they're fairly deep. I don't want to get my hands all in there. So I wanted an extra long spoon. This is the only kind of nylon spoon that I do have in there. The rest I have are titanium. Just because I'm working around fire, I didn't want to have any kind of accident where I accidentally melted, my silverware. So these are also Sea to Summit, also incredibly overpriced, but at least I had peace of mind knowing that my silverware was never going to melt at any point. and they come in a nice little D ring. And actually on the ends of these they have some little hex that they advertise those that if you want to, I guess if you're doing any kind of mechanical work and you need to have this little hex bit that you could use it as you're eating. These are made by Sea to Summit. They're titanium, and then also with I bought the Snow Peak starter pack, and it also came with a spork. So this is my backup silverware. This is my primary silverware, and then this is just mainly used for cooking. So that's the silverware that I have with me. I also bought this little, Jesus, about $1, and it's just a little mini spatula. I'm not planning on making omelets or anything like that, but this is also to just help me clean a little bit on the bottom here. What I forgot, geez, I meant to have this in this video. I don't have a sponge with me right now. I'm still kind of trying to decide which one to go with. I had some other kind of silverware choices too. I was thinking of going that route, which I have in my EDC bag, or the spork. I just don't like eating with sporks. I prefer to have real silverware. Again, a morale thing. If I'm eating with a spork, I'm going to be a little bit depressed. So I want real silverware. Lastly, these aren't as needed with the Snow Peak stove, since it already has. We have creating the fire without these, but I have these just as backup. It's just a fire steel and a big lighter. And lastly, what I have is it's just a cutting board. It's extremely lightweight. I think it weighs 2 ounces. And I kind of, it's not really needed. I don't know if I'm going to be filleting fish or anything like that. But if someone else was, I would have this handy. And also it helped protect a lot of the items that I have in here so they don't bend. So when they're in my bug out bag, I didn't want to accidentally bend these things or bend anything else, so I wanted to have something a little bit sturdy in there. So I chose this, so it's kind of dual purpose. So also, if I need to use it for cutting anything, for example for my kid, if I need to cut some food up for him, I could use that for that. And otherwise it just helps kind of protect the items that I have in here. So this is my current cooking compartment. As always, I'd like to hear any kind of comments that you have, recommendations, things that I'm doing wrong. I have a couple other things in mind for this compartment that I'm not ready yet to show on this video, a couple additions, but I'll be hopefully making videos on that later. So again, if you have any recommendations on what you think I should do different, please let me know. I still might keep these little salt and pepper ones in there. They're lightweight, and it gives me a little bit extra salt and pepper, some of the primary spices. So yeah, please leave comments, and talk to you guys later. So again, this is the cooking stove for my bug out bag. Thanks for all the views and support. Talk to you later. Bye.